I've read your books, and I was hoping that there may be a third one in the works.
There really isn't. I mean, if there was a future, and we did have maybe some kind of franchise there, maybe I would. I mean, I think I kind of told my story there. It certainly go on. If my only criticism of Babylon 5 was this, and this is just purely me, okay? You'll all get on Twitter, JMS, and go, he's talking trash again. But, no, I think at the time I wish we could have gone further.
Yeah.
I think, and this is, it kind of ties into what you're asking. I wish we'd have gone further because in television it kind of flies in the face to put an ending on your project when you were just on the front of TV Guide. You know, ours was the little spaceship, little space station that could. We weren't part of the Star Trek world, and we were just, you know, but we were hanging in there. We were just now getting mainstream television and public recognition, and I think there was more we could have done. And I'm not saying that they didn't give it a try with Crusade. But I think what was lacking in Crusade was Vera Furlan, myself, and everybody else who should have been into that. Just my opinion. So when we went off, and I know Joe had this 5-year saga, and that's great. But I think, you know, he could have, like Gene Roddenberry did, sat back and he created marvelous cast of characters, and he had a wonderful array of other writers. You know, remember when I joined the show, Babylon 5 at the, my God, we had even Neil Gaiman wrote one. DC Fontana, we had a number of writers. Peter David?
Yeah.
Peter David. We had a marvelous bunch of writers there who actually did do some episodes early on. So I think we could have continued it on. I think there was still more to tell. And we tried that with Lost Tales, and unfortunately, Warner's bailed out on us.
We're in the lightning round now, so we got time.
Oh, shoot. I could be here all day.
We got time for 2 more quick questions. Right here and right here. You go first.
Well, I grew up in the 80s with Tron on VHS, and in the 90s I went and saw The Matrix, and I'm like, this is Tron. Anyway, so,
Oh, I know they were influenced a great deal by the Wachowski brothers. They've admitted that. You know, that Tron wasn't a major influence.
Anyway, my question is, I know off the set, while making Tron, you guys played a lot of video games, right?
Yes.
What's your opinion of today's video games and video game technology as opposed to?
Oh, I think they're phenomenal. I mean, I'm not a player, but I have 4 boys. So I have certainly seen, you know, the popularity of them. And I also do them, so I wouldn't want to trash talk the video game industry. I'm currently still doing the 5th installment of the Special Ops series, S5. I'm still doing that. I've been on that for a year now. How long do they take to do these things? When do they ever finally get them out in the store? I mean, Tron games I've done. I've done voice work in that. Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, had a Tron character in there, and I've done that. Tron 2.0 and blah, blah, blah. I think they're amazing, and I think that's what the 2 movies really kind of show you how far we've come. You know, the first Tron looked very much like the arcade games that we were playing. They were these big things, you know, and we had them on the set until they became an absolute nuisance, and we couldn't get Jeff Bridges off of them. It is a very famous story, and you may have read it in the interviews and stuff, that Steven Lisberger, who, you know, this was his first film. He'd been a filmmaker before. This was a lot of responsibility, and, you know, we're on the set, and we're waiting and waiting, and he's going, where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? We need Jeff. Tell him to get Jeff. So the ADs are running around trying to find Jeff. But we had, right in the next stage, there was a wall full of these arcade games, you know, that they had, and we had Battle Tank, I think. I was off having to practice my frisbee all the time because they were crazy about it. Am I going to look good enough for this? You know? So Jeff was off there doing the, you know, the Flynn thing there, you know, and he was, and so they're yelling, and the guy goes, Jeff, come on! And then Lisberger got pissed off, and he comes yelling over, come on, Jeff, we need you. He said, just hold it, I'm working on my character. And he was working his character. And, you know, eventually we arrived one day and they were all gone. Enough of that.
You got the last question right there, Bob.
So much. You're welcome.
My brother-in-law is a huge fan of yours, and he came to meet you yesterday. And one of the questions that he wanted to ask you today, so unfortunately he's sick today, so he couldn't make it.
I did that.
Sorry. No, no worries. If you have any lasting memory or wonderful off-stage or like off-screen moment with just some of the cast from Babylon 5 that just kind of sticks out in your mind? I know there may be a ton, but like with Andreas Kasselas, right?
Oh. The best actor in the whole bunch was Andreas, and I'll always remember the great times with him. Do I have just about 5 minutes to tell some stories?
Yeah.
You know, the only other guy who can wait on me.
If we went a little late,
There are just 5 minutes more. I just want to talk about these, but Andreas and Richard, I miss them greatly because we all became very, very dear friends, and there were a lot of tears when Richard suddenly went. 43 years old, he left 2 baby boys and a beautiful, beautiful wife. It was a huge shock to everybody. He was a healthy guy, a crazy guy, a party guy. He was fun, but he had this little abnormality in the wall of his heart, and it ripped open and he bled out and died. So it was tough. He was sort of the heart and soul of the cast, and Dr. Franklin, who always reminded us of our humanity among the human beings and his empathy for the alien races. Jakar was this larger-than-life alien who I stared into those beady red eyes, and then for a part of the series I looked into that one beady red eye and the other one blue eye, which was, you know, bizarre, until he got the other red eye again. But I never saw an actor so transcend that makeup. You know, you had to wear that for hours and hours. And we shot out in the San Fernando Valley, it's called Sun Valley. Sometimes it'd be up to 110 degrees out there. And you know, really hot during the summer. And he'd sit out there, and you know, I curse him to this day because it's the smoking that killed him. But he'd sit out there and have a cigarette after cigarette, waiting in between. His full Jakar makeup, because he couldn't get out of it, but he had air conditioning inside. But he'd sit out there, because he wasn't allowed to smoke in the set, just puff away and talk about philosophy and things like that. And I'll always remember him. You know, I never knew what the guy looked like when I first joined the show, because I always saw him in that makeup. And I really said, sometime, can I come by and meet you? I don't know who the hell you are. But I miss those guys, and so those last days of Babylon 5, there was a lot of tears, I got to tell you. In fact, the last episode of season 4, which was, and that was going to be our last episode, because we were going to be canceled, we were being dropped. And I thank God for TNT for picking us up at the last minute, and so we could carry it on. So they played that last episode as the last episode of season 5. But that one, the entire set, when I was doing my final speech in my my Star Fury, and I was about to see the light, I was riding off over the rim. Everyone in the show was sitting underneath the cameras, behind the lights, and it was. I start to tear up now when I think about it. They were all there. Everyone was crying. Joe was crying. Can you imagine that? It was quite a moment because, you know, we shot in a place, we weren't on a major studio lot. We were in an old warehouse that had been reconverted, still used by the shows. So we were a space station away from the rest of the world. In fact, when guest artists would come, we'd go, what news? Hey, you know of anything that's going on out there? What's the rest of the business doing? We were really isolated out there, and so it gave us a real sense of community on that space station. But there was a lot of tears and regret. And then I don't know if you've ever seen that big picture. It's sort of a long picture. We're all standing there flipping off the camera. That was our goodbye shot. But there were a lot of tears, a lot of good friendships had been made, and we thought something unique had been made, and unfortunately we weren't going to see the real end of it as we intended. So it wasn't hard for me to get emotional in that scene, you know. It was all, I was all alone there in my Star Fury, and it all went white. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Speaking of goodbye, Bruce, I know I speak for everybody in the audience here. I believe in the user. And I also believe this has been a singular pleasure to have you here in Seattle. Thanks for taking the time.